Start. A holistic approach in Islamic healing. Why so? Well, if you think about it, think about history perhaps. How did Islamic healing actually become an Islamic healing? You will find that great researchers, great physicians, great healers, sages, they've actually had broad background in terms of their education. They were spiritual beings, meaning they developed themselves, but they also had their hands and brains in mathematics, geometry, Sharia, philosophy, logic, chemistry, known at that time under the name of alchemia, astronomy, metaphysics, and I could carry on. And the list that you just heard from me represents how how broad their knowledge was. This is everything that they studied. This is everything that they specialized in. Right, so it is a completely different reality to what we know today. Okay, and they've actually shied away from calling their work Islamic. Islamic as an adjective is actually a phenomena of 21st century or 20th century. This is that newer Islamic approach. Look back into history, think about Ibn Sina. He called his book the Canon of Medicine. Think about Ali Abbas. He wrote the complete book of medical art. Al-Baytuni, he titled his book the Book of Drugs. Al-Razi, Tib al-Ruhani, meaning spiritual medicine. And, the list can carry on. They've been interested in science and they haven't called it by its adjective Islamic. However, we do it right now. So from 7th century to 19th century, the Ottoman Empire, with decline of Ottoman Empire, when we went through the golden age of Islamic age, there's plenty heritage left behind us as Muslims to the world, but also we need to be honest and we need to own the fact that the golden age of Islamic sort of compiled and translated into Arabic plenty work borrowed from elsewhere. So we had Egyptian, Hellenistic, Persian, we have Syrian, Chinese, Byzantine, Indian, Asian, not so much European, however, still Hellenistic approach was there. Everything was considered for a science. Everything was considered as a reflection of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to us. And what he said to us is that for every disease, there is a cure. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created disease, and our job is to find a cure. But how to find a cure? Well, obviously within the limits of Islamic Sharia, like maintain halal and ethical approach to your practice, but also shy away from what post-19th century done to us, meaning how we think about healing, how we think about medicine, how we think about therapies has changed since 19th century. Before that, everything was holistic, everything had link to it, everything had been connecting, everything was dependent on everything else. So the science of healing, or the medical science, including psychology, indigenous psychology at that time, they considered personality theory. They called it mizaj in Arabic. They considered somatic intelligence, humors, and metaphysics, things which you can't touch. They were thinking about influence of genes, angels, qadr, also ruh, which is known as life force. So all of those elements they were taking in consideration, plus your upbringing, plus your environment, plus your economics. And after 19th century, this holistic approach sort of shrinked and become very reductionist. So we now, and until today, we talk about ego, about social pathologies. We labeling things. We are very compartmentalized in our approach. We're very reductionist and orthodox. We specialize in things. You know, it's no more. There's no more Renaissance people in terms of knowledge. You know, we possess really great. A great deal of knowledge within a very specific area, and we very rarely can we connect it to the rest of the science, which was never actually a case. So let me show you something, and hopefully that will shed some light. That will make more sense, right? So look. So if you think about medicine, about therapeutics, we have Ruch-based therapies. By Ruch therapies, I mean life force therapy. So this grape element, which you can't really touch. So there are different specializations, different modalities which sort of thrive on that approach. So we have ancient Greeks medicine, homeopathy, Ayurveda, TIB, and traditional Chinese medicine. And you know, those methods, they work until today. We have religious and spiritual approaches to healing: Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Jewish, or Islamic. We have talking therapies such as psychiatry, group therapies, counseling, psychotherapy. We have biological-based approaches such as dietary, herbology, pharmacology, nutritionists. We also have body-based approaches, so that will include some relaxations methods such as yoga, Reiki, Qigong, reflexology, chiropractic, osteopathy, massages, but also surgery, acupressure, and aromatherapy. So if you were to think like our predecessors were thinking, you would say, okay, this is a science. This is actually something that we need to look into. This is something that we want to understand and find the links between it. But if you are following the reductionist approach after 19th century medical approach, you would say no. These all of those methods, all of those methodologies, they sort of exist separately. All right. So I hope that makes sense. So what do we call Islamic holism in healing today? That's what it is. So Islamic holism includes methods of relying on Quran, Ruqya, Nasiha, which is also called counseling or psychotherapy, Tarbiyah, Tazkiyah, prophetic medicine, and Unani medicine. And if you are listening to me and you are specializing in any of those medicine, or by any chance, more than one, you already probably noticed that they interlink, that they sort of, that there is a thin line between prophetic medicine and Unani medicine, or maybe Tazkiyah and Nasiha, they sort of come very closely together. You know, you can't do Ruqya without Quran. So I hope that makes sense. And I hope that from now on, you will think about medicine, about therapies, about different types of modalities, which are there for you to tap into as Islamic. Okay, because we want to make sure that we're looking for the answers to our problems, including health problems, within the realm of, yes, halal, but also holism. I see you in next video. Don't forget to sign into my YouTube channel, and if you want to book a free session with me, you know, the link is just right there. Let me see.